Hi, how are you? How's your day? Oh my goodness me, look at me, I got a haircut. I got a haircut. A friend of mine called me this morning, you won't believe it, from the States. And she said that my phone was blurry and it wasn't a good look. She said my phone was blurry, she didn't like it, and she said that I should immediately go and get another phone. All the way from America in the morning. And I barely slept a wink last night because I took too much coffee. So I had to heed to that call. I had no idea how pathetic my picture quality was. Because I began Eric's stories as a joke. I mean, I had my old phone, the one I've had for like 4 years, and I was like, it's not going to hurt. And she just said, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to see this stuff. So I went and got, I hope this is good, friend from the States. And you too. But then you are terrible. How come you never told me? You're just there like, Eric, you are hilarious. And you're not saying that the picture quality is pathetic. Anyway, let's pray that the money comes back. I wasn't planning to buy this stuff, man. I wanted to have a quick chat about. Did you have a good day, by the way? Please feel free. If you're new here, my name is Eric. Eric's Stories is about you and I sharing on different perspectives on issues of life, love, and relationships. And I don't speak at you, I speak with you. How you do that is you hit my DM. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm also on YouTube. Share your mind with me about your thoughts about these conversations so that we can grow and become better together. Let's have a quick chat about qualities of a good parent. One time I wrote a letter to this lady. I think I was in Form 2. And I wrote a letter to my neighbor. She was just a next door neighbor and during recess. And she was a pastor's daughter. So in the letter, I'd expressed how I liked particular features of our body. Yeah? And it was very, very detailed letter, maybe two full scraps with all the English I could mutter. So my mother sent me to buy, I think, beef, and because I'd scoured and looked around to see if I'm going to spot my would-be girlfriend, and I couldn't see her because she used to work near the shamba there. She was in high school as well. So I made a dash for the butchery, but I left my letter on top of the what were those things called? Those things with glasses, something wall. Those things. Everybody in the estates used to have them. I'm sure you had them. Not Great Wall, that was a TV. But that thing, chest of drawers with things. Anyway, with plates and paraphernalia for guests, because the residents of the house never used to use them. So my mother, being a mother and very instinctive, went over there and got the letter. And then when I came back, I was pretending to be looking for a glass. And she's like, what are you looking for? So I said, the plates. She's like, no, I think you're looking for these. And then she was just, the letter was open and she'd read it. And you can imagine how that went down. So my aunts were informed of this heinous thing that I'd done. My goodness me, a boy who's supposed to be working hard, all right, and improving their biology and chemistry, all right, because I was just about to assume Form 3 and start mole concept. But here I was using all the vocabulary I'd learned to express my deep fondness for this woman. So we had a big case with different relations, and they had me there sitting looking like a chicken that had been rained on. And, I was lectured about many, many things. And my mother was deeply worried. You could tell from the way she was looking. But be that as it may, I've been thinking lately about the sort of parent I would become. All right? Hence this conversation. And if you're a parent already, please share your mind with me about some of the ways to be a good parent. Do you normally just wing it, or are you very intentional about ways in which you parent? So qualities of a good parent. Also, rarely is this spoken about because children are supposed to be prime and proper. Children, all right? I remember my friends in school who are recalcitrant and they faced the music. They'd be made to kneel the whole afternoon or maybe slash a whole compound. Some heinous things that were not supposed to be meted against a child. But that's, my time growing up. So I think it suffices then to have a conversation about the sort of parent I would want to become, or you would want to become. One thing that comes to my mind is the need to cultivate and build trust. You know, in the later years of me growing up, I became slightly closer with my mother, and we went out and we'd eat. I remember taking her once to Westlands, and we went to the disco and danced. Was it a disco? We went to the rave. But in the initial years, my mom and I were not very close. She used to be very scared that, she's raising me by herself as a single mother. And she was worried that I'm going to turn out to be, these vernacular that goes round about single mothers and raising boys. So she was really worried. Now, in hindsight, I can see why she was worried. But we cultivated our relationship much later into life. I wish we had done it earlier. So, in my mind, I think it's very important to cultivate trust in a relationship between you and your child. All right? Providing a supportive and just a nurturing environment, because children learn trust from home so that they can trust you with their fears and their failures and ideas and their feelings. All right? I think that is important. Cultivating trust. If a child can say, I trust my mom or my dad, I think you've done a good chunk of the good job already. Second thing that comes to my mind is the emphasis of the importance of training your child to listen, and you equally being an exceptional listener. I've worked with so many people, especially in the media industry, who can't listen, who would not listen. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So I made it a point to really, really try, and I'm still trying to train myself to be a better listener than somebody who's quick to talk. All right? I think it's very important. There's a scripture I like. Proverbs 18:13 says, to answer before listening, that is folly and a shame. I used to work with somebody, if you said something like, so today in the afternoon, they'd finish your sentence. They're like, hey, in the afternoon, it was very hot. Hey, it was hot, and did you see the traffic? I was just going to say that I was called that my mother died in the afternoon. And like, what? Your mother died in the afternoon? Because that's funny, because when my mother died, my mother died in the morning. It's like, what is wrong with you? Who bewitched you? Just keep quiet. So I think the best way a parent can ensure that their children will return to them over and over again, even in the course of their lives as adults, is when the said parent demonstrates that they can be a best listener. Just listen. Oh my God, I pray that I become a good listener. Than a talker, that I can listen. Just listen. Just listen. Listen without judging. Just listen to what people say. Listen attentively. Active listening. Just listen. That's a good quality. It will be a good quality. Because a lot of things that our children go through, if they would count on us to come back and you not interrupt and start judging them and calling them names, you just be like, what happened, Andrew? I'll be like, Dad, I stole your car, I went to the rave, and I came out and I couldn't see the car, and I'm sorry, that was an idiotic thing, whatever it is that they did. And then you're not going to go like, oh, I knew I gave birth to an idiot. I knew I left the child in the hospital and brought a placenta home. Just listen to them. They can trust you with their vulnerabilities. When you listen, people can trust you. I know I can. I can count. I don't have a lot of friends. I could count all my friends with one hand and still have a lot of fingers remaining. But out of even the few friends I have, I still can count and remain with only a few friends that can listen well. And that's why I'm trying to be a friend who listens. Respect their privacy is another quality of a good parent, I think. They're independent human beings despite the fact that they came out of you. All right? Tread carefully to see if your child is asking for advice or not, lest they shut you out. Sometimes we're so generous with our advice. Generous. They don't want to be advised on anything. You just put a calculator. I remember when I was, I think, still in high school. So I was really taken by the boys to men. So sometimes I would hide and curl my hair over here, but I was so scared, so I put on a hat. So if you see your child has done something, it's just a stage. I was not now smoking some crack that somebody should start holding their head in despair that they've lost their son. I was just, if they're dating somebody you don't like, for instance, they're in that age, they're dating somebody they don't like, please call out the person's vice and not the person. All right? You achieve very little by when you start saying things like, oh, that boy is foolish. I don't like foolish people around my house. What do you mean exactly by foolish? You could say instead, I've raised you better than this. I see that boy, being very improper with other girls. I'm sure you don't want somebody who does that with you. Or maybe he dropped out of school and that's not somebody you can build a future with, and so on and so forth. I don't know how you'd word it, but I think that's very important. Most parents start castigating the person, all right, instead of calling out the vice or the behavior that you cannot tolerate. Share your experiences as honestly as possible, of course, with factoring in the age appropriate experiences. Of course, you're not going to tell a 12-year-old about your first sexual encounter, but maybe when they're off, they've cleared high school and they're going away to college, this is a good time to share some personal stories and open conversations around personal stories. Most of us, if you think about it, don't really know our parents. We just know that this is my mother or this is my father, and that's it. Start from a place of mutual respect and understanding. Share your first love stories, good and bad. What happened there? Mom, what happened there? Share what your relationship looked like when you were in college, like they're going to college now. What were your relationships like? Talk about how you fell in love. What made you love that person? What qualities did you like and why? All right? How did they make you feel? They are adults now. They're going to college. They're not choo-choo-choo-choo, baby. They are grown. How did those people make you feel? For breakups, talk about the challenges and learning experiences. We should do a conversation around breakups and how, that crazy heinous thing that happened. Was it 2 years ago where a guy drove from, was it Thika, to go and murder a lady in Eldoret? It was heinous and needless death. I think if somebody spared a moment and just had a conversation with them about breakups and knowing that it's normal, that people leave you and they meet other people and it's a part and parcel of growth, you would not make such a permanent decision that would land you in prison for the rest of your life. You don't want to make permanent decisions during a temporary problem. I think it's very important. Share the challenges about you as a parent, your expectations, your breakup, the challenges you faced during the breakup, the heartache you felt, and what you learned. Those are important. Did you have an amicable breakup perhaps, or was it ugly? They'd like to know. You are their parent. Finally, talk to them about abuse signs. This is very important. You can't leave the telly and the radio to teach your child, and radio host to teach your child about sex and sexual abuse and their signs. Listen to what they have to say and give support. Avoid accusatory tone or language, all right? Talk about behaviors you don't like, again, and not the person. If the boy dresses inappropriately, talk about that. Don't say, this boy comes from a terrible tribe and we don't marry there. No, that's not a valid reason. Talk about dating abuse. Talk about physical abuse. Talk about sexual abuse. Talk about emotional abuse. Talk about extreme jealousy and possessiveness. Talk about excessive calling and texting. Talk about how people who can fall in love so deeply to points of abandoning their family. Talk about all of this stuff. These are some of my thoughts about ways to become a better parent. What are your thoughts? As always, share in the comment section. And good evening.